Now let's talk about anticholinesterases. So anticholinesterases are the agents which inhibit acetylcholinesterase and protect acetylcholine from breakdown. So there is potentiation of acetylcholine actions. Okay. Now let's come to the structure of acetylcholinesterases. Acetylcholinesterases are either derivatives of carbamates or phosphates. Okay, they come from either carbamates or phosphates. Now carbamates can be divided into two types. Okay, so carbamates which have a tertiary amine and carbamates which have a quaternary amine. So the tertiary amine containing carbamates are usually lipid soluble, so they can cross the blood brain barrier. For example, physostigmine. And the quaternary amine containing carbamates are water soluble, so they cannot cross the blood brain barrier. For example, neostigmine. Now come to the mechanism of action of anticholinesterases. The carbamates and phosphates respectively carbamylate and phosphorylate the enzyme, so the enzyme becomes inactive. After carbamylation and phosphorylation, the enzyme becomes inactive. But the difference is the carbamylate inactivates the enzyme for a short duration or a shorter duration, for example 30 minutes. Okay, but the phosphorylated enzyme, okay, the phosphate derivatives, they inactivate the enzyme for a prolonged period of time, for days. Okay, so carbamylated enzymes can be freed. These are not permanently damaged. These are freed after a few hours or maybe few minutes or few hours. They are freed, they are retrieved. But the phosphorylated enzymes cannot be retrieved. They are lost permanently, they are damaged permanently. So this is the difference. Now you may be asked about a concept which is called aging. What is aging? Look, organophosphorus compounds, that means the phosphate derivatives of drugs, anticholinesterase drugs, are called organophosphorus compounds that bind with the enzyme. Which enzyme? The acetylcholinesterase enzyme, by a covalent bond. And covalent bond is a very strong bond. Okay, and these drugs have an alkyl group. These drugs have an alkyl group on them. Now when the alkyl group is present, the drug can be removed from the enzyme by pralidoxime. Pralidoxime is a drug which causes removal of the drug from the enzyme. Okay, so the enzyme will be freed. Now after binding with the enzyme, the drug loses its alkyl group within a few hours. Therefore, after the loss of alkyl group, the drug enzyme complex, it becomes permanent, so it cannot be broken and the enzyme is lost forever. And this process is called aging. Okay. Now another important question for your written exam, you may be asked to differentiate between physostigmine and neostigmine. The question may be like that, that compare and contrast between physostigmine and neostigmine. Okay. So the source is natural for physostigmine and synthetic for neostigmine. The chemistry, as I have said, that physostigmine is a tertiary amine and neostigmine is a quaternary amine. Oral absorption is good for physostigmine and poor for neostigmine. Then the CNS action is present and the CNS action is absent for neostigmine, which is reasonable because one is water soluble, another is lipid soluble. Then the ocular actions are present for physostigmine, absent for neostigmine. Now direct action on nicotinic receptor, nicotinic NM receptor, that is absent for physostigmine, but that is present for neostigmine. Why is that? Because physostigmine has less affinity for this receptor, but neostigmine has more affinity for this receptor. Then prominent effects are on autonomic effectors for physostigmine and skeletal muscles for neostigmine. Important use: physostigmine is used in glaucoma and neostigmine used in reversal of neuromuscular blockage in case of anesthesia. Okay, and the duration of action, it is 4 to 6 hours for physostigmine and 3 to 4 hours for neostigmine. Okay, now come to the clinical uses of anticholinesterases. What are the indications of these drugs? Number one is glaucoma. They actually reduces intraocular pressure. Okay, they causes increase in the tone of ciliary muscle and sphincter pupillae that causes pull on the trabeculae and thereby reduces the intraocular pressure. I can understand that you are not understanding this well, but when we will discuss about the anti-glaucoma drugs, then we will discuss these things in detail and then you will understand this very clearly. But for now, just remember these things, that these drugs can be used in glaucoma. Okay, so physostigmine can be used here, but pilocarpine is the preferred miotic in glaucoma. Okay, number two, reversal of neuromuscular blockage. Neostigmine is used for that. Then postoperative paralytic ileus. In non-obstructive postoperative paralytic ileus, we can use this group of drugs. We can use these drugs in Alzheimer's disease. Now, what is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative disease of the nervous system where there is progressive loss of cholinergic neurons. So the cholinergic neurons are lost, so acetylcholine level decreases on its receptor side. So we use these drugs, that means anticholinesterases, to increase acetylcholine level at their receptor site. For example, rivastigmine, galantamine, donepezil, etc. Okay. Then another important indication is myasthenia gravis. For this is a rare disease, but it is important. Neostigmine is used for the treatment of myasthenia gravis, and in case of atropine poisoning, we can use physostigmine. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about myasthenia gravis. What is myasthenia gravis and what are the treatment options for this disease? So myasthenia gravis is an autoimmune disorder. Okay, autoimmune disorder where antibodies are produced against the nicotinic receptors at the muscle end plate. So at the muscle end plate there are nicotinic receptors, that means NM receptors, and autoantibodies are produced against these receptors. Therefore, there is loss of NM receptors and there is damage to the neuromuscular junction, and that will result in muscle weakness, fatigue after activity or exercise. If a person walks or moves his arm a little bit, then he will develop fatigue. Okay, so but an important criteria in myasthenia gravis is that myasthenic fatigue that improves after taking rest. After taking rest for a while, the patient will improve. Okay, now let's come to the treatment options. What are the treatment options here? The first treatment option is neostigmine. Why neostigmine? Because neostigmine will increase the acetylcholine level at the neurovascular junction. Okay, then the next step is corticosteroids. As this is an autoimmune disease, so corticosteroids are immunosuppressive. We use these drugs here and this can give us good results. Other immunosuppressive agents can also be used, for example azathioprine, cyclosporin. Then we have some other options like plasmapheresis and thymectomy. Okay, now there are two important terms. One is myasthenic crisis and another is cholinergic crisis. Now, what is myasthenic crisis and what is cholinergic crisis? So, myasthenic crisis. Look at here that the total number of autoantibodies is not stable in a myasthenic patient. This may increase or decrease. So, the total autoantibody level may increase or decrease over the time. If autoantibodies are increased, then a patient taking a usual neostigmine dose may develop weakness, because increased autoantibodies will require increased neostigmine dose. Okay, that is easy to understand, and this condition is called myasthenic crisis. Okay, now what are the treatment options? If there is respiratory muscle weakness, then we have to intubate. Okay, so tracheal intubation and mechanical ventilation may be needed. And IV methylprednisolone pulse therapy. IV methylprednisolone, this is a steroid, and this therapy is important. Then anticholinesterases are withheld for 2 to 3 days. That means neostigmine is withheld for 2 to 3 days, followed by their gradual reintroduction. Okay, why is that? Because you know that a drug for prolonged use can become tolerant. That means its efficacy can be lost to some degree. For that reason, if you stop the drug for few days, then it can recover its efficacy. It can act better than that it worked previously. Okay, and another option is plasmapheresis. Now come to cholinergic crisis. What is cholinergic crisis? Now, in myasthenic crisis, the autoantibody number increased, but here autoantibody number decreases. So more NM receptors will be free. Okay, therefore the usual dose of neostigmine will overstimulate the NM receptors, and there will be a therapeutic failure. So if you understimulate the NM receptors or overstimulate the NM receptors, the result will be same. There will be weakness. Okay, so the patient develops weakness. This is called cholinergic crisis. Now, how will you differentiate between myasthenic crisis and cholinergic crisis? Just give edrophonium 2 mg IV. Okay, as edrophonium is a cholinergic drug. Okay, it is a cholinergic drug, so patients will feel better in myasthenic crisis. You know, this will increase the acetylcholine level at the NM receptor, so the patient will feel better in myasthenic crisis, but the patient's condition will deteriorate in cholinergic crisis. Okay.